Yours, guys.
Okay, thank you for having us, Victor. Us four here. So it's not only me and Christian, but also my colleagues Lars and Julia. We are from the Finanzinformatik, and together with the help of many guys from SVA, we are building a data lakehouse in our environment. And we are in the middle of this project, and we were invited here to tell some stories about it, especially how we could master the governance in a multi-tenancy environment, and also how we do accounting with the tools given. And I hope this will be interesting for you. So without further ado, we will jump into it. I know this is a tight schedule. In the end, we will present our emails, and you can or are allowed to send us emails with questions if we cannot answer them here right directly. Okay, let's go. So our agenda is that I will just very shortly introduce you to our company and what we're doing. Then I will try to make you understand how our platform has evolved into what it is right now and how a short outlook on the future. After that, Christian will tell us how we did create the data lakehouse from scratch with Starbucks and Lakekeeper. And then we have two special highlights. One's presented the topic about the governance and multi-tenancy at scale, Lakekeeper, which will be presented by Julia. And the other highlight is how we do standard cost accounting in the data lake, which will be presented by Lars. Okay, so this is short introduction of us. Julia is our technical lead. Lars is our data lakehouse lead architect inside the FI. Will be supported or is supported by Christian, of course. And I have the honor to lead the project. So that's our team. Of course, we are much more, many more. And this is just a short abstract of the team. So about the Finanzinformatik, maybe some of you heard about this, maybe not. That's the company with the so-called digitalization partner of the savings banks finance group. So whatever you do with the, in German say Sparkassen, the technology resides in our data centers, and we are the people bringing the programs, the architecture, whatever to the customers. Customers could be you who have an account at the Sparkasse or the savings bank, or could be inside the many people who are working for the savings bank. So here's just some numbers. We have 3 locations. We have one in Münster, we have one in Hannover, and one in Frankfurt. And we have roughly about 5,400 employees. Yeah, about the revenue, I don't care. What is very impressive is that we have a huge development budget and that we manage a lot of devices. I have also slides about how many servers we have and so on and so forth, but we have to keep it short. Just you can imagine, we're one of the largest data centers in Europe. Oh, okay, it's sitting there. So our mission is to bring all these happy customers to happiness with innovative software, with service, with whatever there is. And of course, we know that right now everything is about AI, but we also have had the need about thinking how to provide, how to structure our data, and there was this topic of the data lakehouse came in. So we started 2020 with the building of our data analytics platform, and we had an analytic database, and we had a data lake built on Hortonworks. Maybe some people still know HTTP. Okay, I see some fans here. Great. So, which was very exciting area. I was one of the initial members who were there creating this platform. And you can see we have evolved more and more over the years. So by time, we had to replace Hortonworks. You all know it was consumed. And later on, there was a competitor, Cloudera, and they did not fit really into our strategy. And also we will leave IBM Watson Studio. Maybe some people remember it is a very old tool with Cloudflare for Data as our primary analytics suite. And in addition to that, for the data lake, we engage IBM Spectrum Scale, or it has a different name right now, but yeah, IBM is changing the names all the time. Doesn't matter. So a year later, we still had the same platform, but we added something and a special offer for the customers. The savings bank could hook into Koala. This is a special environment where they could use all these features in a secure environment. They just had to pay some monthly fees, and they didn't have to had all the stress with updating a platform and so on. And the really cool thing was they had access to their real productive data. So all the data installed in the FI normally is not accessible, but we made it possible and expanded our platform with that. Yeah, and you can see the transformation goes strong and big. We now had a platform which is the basis for also development of KI or AI. We have a chatbot called SKI Pilot, which is serving for all the people in the savings bank. And we changed our analytic database from an appliance mode into cluster mode. And we also integrated machine learning operations into our analytic workplace. And we had an addition of data protection, so we can provide data with some kind of level of anonymization and pseudonymization, so we can filter out some personal information, and all the tables can be used for further use cases. So now we are looking into this year and also into next year. Yeah, you can see the platform is growing. And what has, we also have now here a very strong footprint in Gen and I services with all the hardware from NVIDIA. We do everything 100% on-prem. So we bought a lot of graphic cards, GPUs. And also this year we started the data lakehouse, or building it after a huge POC together with the colleagues here also present from the development. Yeah, we have Starburst SQL engine and Lakekeeper as our data catalog. And what is important for me to say is that we also have built up a series of tools which are always provided, no matter with what kind of stage we are. And this is only a small selection. And the latest edition, Lakekeeper, Starburst, and Iceberg, and the list go on. So we have a strong foundation and can provide the services we needed, because you all know the demands are growing, and we want to service and honor all these applications with the right infrastructure.
One question.
Please.
Why did you go towards on-prem instead of cloud provider, even if it would be a European cloud provider?
Yeah, because that's a decision we made, because this is our unique selling point. We have 100% trust in our infrastructure that we can maintain all our data secure, and we have it available, and now we make it available for everybody in a secure environment. So no customer has to worry about many questions, because we solve them. And that's a huge advantage, I think, even though it costs us a lot, but I think the strategy has paid out so far. Could change any time. We're also exploring cloud options, but at the moment, we're 100% on-prem. That's unique selling point. Okay, so that's from me. Very short introduction. I want to hurry because the really interesting stuff begins now. Would like to give the presentation to Christian.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks also for having me together here with you on the talk. So I'm working closely with the Finanz Informatik for, I would say, more than 1.5 years, with supporting around a lot of stuff in the data lakehouse area, and happy to share you some insights. There were a lot of things we evaluated, we figured out. We cannot show you everything here, then we need a few hours. But happy to just showcase you a bit where we are now and what we built up so far, with also a lot of colleagues here in the room. So usually the first motivation was a bit like you saw there was an accessible database. It's kind of really fast. It's an in-memory database. You probably cannot get really much faster than. But anyhow, it's also like an in-memory database. You need a lot of memory. So therefore, like getting more data into it will also raise the costs in an enormous way. And therefore, like there were the motivation to figure out what is the next step. How can we enhance our the data analytics platform of the Finanzinformatik with more support for mass analysis of data? And this was one of the first things we talked about. And then also like new use cases popped up with, as you know, AI coming, more and more AI stuff. Also, how can we support better AI use cases in this regards? And yeah, also a lot of other things around that popped up, like the data ingest. There's like huge way how the data flows from the source systems towards the current systems. And also these were a lot of things we thought about how we can improve it, how we can speed it up, because we also had the need to get a few tables that were so large that were not able to fit into the system before. And another aspect that was also important was to have like a really low vendor lock-in. So also like thinking about an open data lakehouse, and also using the approach, working closely with Iceberg, as you know. And this was like one of the motivational stuffs we had there. One of the use cases, and this was the one we really had to speed up everything was building up, because it's like shortly popped up more or less, like feels like it was like around the customer journey, where already a lot of tables were provided to the saving banks, but the performance were not as expected because they had to be offloaded onto S3 environments because they were not able to fit into the Exasol. And this was like the first use case that was now built up to have the lakehouse in place, and also have the possibility to analyze this data, that the saving banks are able to get like a lot of customer data around, and also have the possibility to work closely with them using SQL or the Koala and environment. Yeah.
Quick question.
Yeah.
You say S3. Now we just heard that you are running everything on-prem. So is this a storage box that has an S3 API, or
you will see it on the next slide.
Okay.
Great. Okay, yeah, so this was like a few information about how it all now started, and how we also gained speed on top of the journey. And like this is a bit high level simplified how it looks like. And there you can already see like on bottom, the NetApp storage grid. This is like the S3 appliance and provided by NetApp that also have support for like vendor credential stuff and all this kind of things. This is used there as an S3 storage. On top of that, we've got like Lakekeeper to organize everything we've got on the lake. You will get more insights why we also choose Lakekeeper and one of the highlights. And then as a main query engine for getting access to all this data, Starbus is in place. There were also like a lot of POCs ongoing. And at the end, Starbus was like the best fit for the approach, for the requirements. And that's what we now build up, more or less. And that is now also available for the first saving banks. You still see also the Exasol like DB2 system. So it's all like integrated in the existing environment. And that was also always important to get it all together. And now, like at the end, what is really important for us is also already highlighted, like everything is on-prem. Vendor lock-in should be kind of low. There are also like 4 data centers around with 4 fallovers from one to the others, with sharing the data, dividing the data to have like local processing. So there are also like a lot of governance aspects, safety reasons, and all this kind of things that needs to be considered when building up the environment. And yeah, one of the things like how the authentication and authorization was important there will now like showcase you later on last. But first of all, we've got Julia.
Hi, everyone. So I really want to stress that this is a highlight of governments and how we work the data lake at scale. So if you have any in-depth question, you can imagine there really some problems and some issues that we have had to solve along the way. So we can probably go really into depth. Then please talk to us also later during the drinks. So basically, we made a key design choice that, so this is like a quick cutout of our setup. In our OpenShift cluster, we have Lakekeeper running and as a data catalog, and Starburst is our query engine. And you can see already that we have an open policy agent in between. I will come to that in a second. So basically, we made our design choice that all the authorization and all the the access and everything should be handled by Lakekeeper. And what this basically means is, first of all, for user authentication, we use our company-wide ADFS system. This means that when you create a user, you can create and, of course, delete and manage users in the ADF system. And then users are assigned to groups in these groups determine what kind of rights the user has across the company. And we linked these groups. We linked them to see their policies in the Lakekeeper, which we also write and maintain ourselves then for different groups of users. And basically with if you want to access a table or a catalog, or then the Lakekeeper checks via the receiver policy and the groups if you're allowed to do that. So, and then if you want to log in to Lakekeeper, or you want to be authorized towards Lakekeeper, then we installed Open Policy Agent. This was a choice at the time that we did out of a technical necessity. We first tried with token pass-through. We ran into some technical difficulties there. And that's why we came up with the solution, or use the OPA bridge, basically. And we have some benefits there. It's like we have fine-grained permission validation across OPA, and also if we ever want to put next to Starburst another software, OPA gives us a uniform front for access control to the data lake. But of course, we also have to keep OPA policies up to date and also manage them. It's quite an overhead. And as it is now, Starburst doesn't make any access decision itself, but forwards everything to Lakekeeper directly via OPA. This would be much simplified if we would use a token pass-through, and we will look at the solution again in the future. But for now, this is how we set it up. Another aspect of governance that I would like to talk about is what happens when we go towards production. So we are in production. I would say specific maybe to our company is that we across Germany, we have approximately 350 tenants that need to be catered to basically separately. So there cannot be any mix-up of any data. So basically what this means often in production, what we end up doing is setting up the same thing 350 times. How we did this here is we have these 350, I just put in some data to get the feel. So if we are at the end of our development cycle now, then we will have approximately this 350 tenants, 1.5 million tables in our data lake, and the data volume is in petabytes scale. So,
You mentioned that you duplicate the same infrastructure for each tenant. Does it happen that you have different versions? So for tenant 1, you have a version of Lakekeeper a bit older because they value more stability, and for tenant 2, you have latest and greatest? Or
no, not at all.
You do it global and you roll it back, or
so
when there's a problem?
Basically, we have usually an update system. When you go through a cycle and you update something, then you pick some of the tenants and they get the version first, and then the next part, and then all of them. But usually all of them get always the same thing. So they don't really know that they don't need to know that they're that they have
I see. So
separate
it's at
installments of the
most
same
one
thing.
version different.
Yeah,
Got
exactly.
it.
Yeah, basically these tenants, how we set it up is we have multiple Lakekeeper instances. So we have multiple, these tenants are separated into these regions, and all of these regions have their own Postgres and S3 buckets. And on these S3 buckets, again, they are separated on different S3 paths. So really the data is kept separate for them. And this, of course, is also really nice when it comes to load distribution for the Postgres instances. If you can imagine with this data volume, that's an issue. And of course, higher fault tolerance, because if one region vanishes for any reason, then other tenants are still online. Yeah. Now, Lars will tell you on how we make the money.
Exactly. That's the last topic. Maybe that's kind of stole my introduction, but everything's fine. So I don't know how many of you people really need to account for your maybe Iceberg infrastructure, but as you can imagine, we offer services for about Julia said 350, I say 400 different tenants. So we need to account who is actually doing what, who maybe has which kind of data, which volumes of data. And so if we want to offer something, we need to get something in return, and that's obviously money. And we need to then investigate what kind of qualities do we need to put into our accounting that it's really cutting the edge. So, and what for us, there were 4 kind of quality metrics that were necessary for us for accounting, that it would be easy to use for us, easy to maintain as developers. It needs to be transparent, because if you're head of the Sparkasse and you see some bill about your Starburst instance, you don't. You wouldn't see that, but you will need to understand it. It needs to be easy. And therefore, it also needs to be lightweight on the infrastructure. It would be bad if the analytics regarding the accounting would be much greater than the analytics that is done on the infrastructure. That would be unnecessary. And also needs to be on causation. If you only do some small queries, you need to have a small builds. So that's needs to be understandable. So maybe what is for us was our main baseline, or maybe our main challenge. We have about 400 different tenants, as we mentioned, and we do not really offer them the Starburst or Lakekeeper service as maybe one kind of product. We offer them through all different kinds of products. So as Christian already mentioned, for example, the customer journey product, and maybe some kind of other products that come in the future. So each tenant has their own namespace, and in this namespace, there may be a couple of thousand tables. The first 1,000 are for use case 1, the next 1,000 for use case 2, and this goes on until you have 1.5 million tables. And but everything is done on one infrastructure. So we need to have some kind of separation. We need to know, is this table, who owns this table? Is this from tenant X, Y? I think that's quite easy via the S3 path, but maybe which use case owns this? And also, when there's a query done, who is the owner of this table? Is it some technical user from a service? Is this a machine user? Is it maybe an agent? Is this a human user? And we always need to know, where is he coming from, to then account the cost that he's generating, that he can later pay for it. So when then creating our challenges, I don't know if any of you guys from time to time evaluated how big your Iceberg tables are, but I think it's quite hard actually. So I think you need to ask each table separately, how large are you? I think it needs to be done, obviously, but on what we discovered on this way, it's kind of you need to also consider the old snapshots that you had from the history that were not deleted so far. They also consume storage space, and you also need to consider some kind of broken tables. So sometimes there were tables that were broken where you could not see all of the old snapshots. Then we need to optimize them first of all, and then we can access all the old snapshots. So that were some kind of challenges that we sometimes had that we need to consider. And so what we would do is, you can imagine, if you ask 1.5 million tables how big you are, then you need to store this data into another Iceberg table. And as you can probably imagine, one Iceberg table is not that happy if you give it about 1.5 million commits in a few minutes. So we then stored this all of the data of the table sizes inside a short time memory table, and then committed them central with one commit into Iceberg. That was one good solution for us. And all of this done from our point with orchestration with Python cron jobs. Maybe another challenge that we had is the one that I pointed out in the slide before. Which use case does this table offer? Is this use case X, Y? We don't know. And also, who owns this access point? So we need to account, is this query coming from Koala? Is this coming from someone other? This is also something to account for. So we need to, first of all, in Starburst, provide some kind of client tags so that we know, okay, this query came from Koala. And also, we also introduced for each Iceberg table a custom Iceberg property that is also telling us which use case is this table from. And with that information, also some kind of one-to-one user mapping from use case to technical user, we then were able to fully quantify what kind of load is coming onto our platform and actually who is causing it. Yes. And that's it about our 2 highlights. And if you have any questions, you can either ask them now or later at the buffet.
There was a you had a question?
I was thinking about how you account for the storage. You mentioned that you do this through the Iceberg metadata. Did you consider doing this through the NetApp by looking under a certain head prefix?
Yes, maybe what we had as a challenge, what I tried to explain is, yes, we have each tenant separate onto different paths, but what we did not do is we did not then separate each use case on a different path. So we cannot really know from the path what use case is this table coming from.
I see.
So that is,
more,
we would be happy if we can do that, but it's not, that's why we use the Iceberg property.
And the other question which I had is, how do you actually display to the customer the costs? Do you have some finance informatic units or something generic, or how do you say this is your cost and it corresponds to how many DNOs? Or
Give a number.
So no, it's just we just account for how much CPU nodes they use and how much. I don't know. We haven't talked about which kind of dimensions we use with how much space on the S3 they consume, and it's just all the metrics they need.
so you offer this is compute, this is storage,
Yes.
and that's your bill for this month.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
So it's, as you can imagine, in reality, it's then a little bit more complicated, that because we as infrastructure then forward the cost to our developers of the applications, and they then need to forward the cost to the actual Sparkassen. So it's, again, a little bit more complicated, but in the end, it's just forwarding this cost.
Will you do this at the end of the month, or do you do it laufend?
Yes, we periodically generate the metrics, because as you can imagine, maybe you had some kind of humongous commit from your into your Iceberg table from March 1st to March 30th, and on March 31 you clean up some kind of snapshots that you maybe remove some kind of gigabytes from your data, but you actually consumed for the whole month like 10 gigabytes or something like this. So we kind of need to evaluate if on a weekly basis or 2 to 3 day basis.
Don't tell us secrets. Okay. So where's on the buffet? But go ahead.
Not an Iceberg question.
Yeah.
Not an Iceberg question. I'm just trying to get my head around, how do you deal with, let's say one of the tenants wants some changes or wants something new.
Mhm.
How do you deal with this? Do you consult 399 other tenants to make a change? or you create something custom, because if everything's universal, one of the tenants wants something. And that is
Dictatorship strategy. You just let them know in a newsletter.
Or whatever the
Is there any customization in the platform for multi-tenancy,
Yeah.
giving something to one or something, or it's everything standardized?
the data is created, and they get the data that we have, and they can explore it, and they can do whatever they want, or they can do specific queries. So that specific use case we have, this customer journey, is based on a fixed set of queries where they can get some reports, insight, and so on. It's not that they can get universal kind of data or whatever. This would be something different. So we are only fixating ourselves for the first one on a certain set of data. Yeah, this is a special use case which has its limit, but whatever is possible, this use case will be further developed, of course. So we also get feedback from the customers. They want to have this and that, and our colleagues in the back, they will implement it. And yeah, we are just providing the infrastructure. So for that use case, whatever the limit is, we can provide.
Thank you very much.